All right. So we just finished off all of our transactions for the 20th of June, right? We already made a deposit. Everything's good to go. So let's go ahead and take a look at what happened the very next day.
Okay, on Friday, uh, we need to pay hire temps, a temp agency, for the one person that worked the 3 days, 8 hours per day at 10.50 per hour.
All right. So here, what do we have to do?
I put in a date, 6/21,
6/21.
and after doing extensive search through the chart of accounts, I came up with temporary labor expense and checking.
Good. Right? So here we're, especially with temp agencies, right? Or just 1099 workers themselves, right? If we do have a person that we hire that's from a temporary work agency, all we do is just pay them for what our agreement terms is. We do not pay any taxes on them. We just simply pay them off as a mere expense to the company. So in this case, temporary work labor is correct. Let me double check it for you. Okay. So temporary work agency.
I think you have it down as labor.
Yep,
Temporary labor expense.
Yep, temporary labor expense.
Number 60520.
6520. Yes.
Yes.
And once again, we're paying them, so therefore, checking is definitely the account we're going to be using.
And the amount will be 252. That's it, 252.
Oh, okay, yes.
I'm sorry.
So in this case, right? Simple.
What I did,
Go ahead.
I was going to say what I did is in my debit column, I put equals the 10 and a half times 24 because it's a total 24 hours, and that's how I
Good.
got there.
Good, exactly, right? You could do 3 times 8, so 3 days times 8 hours times the 1050 should give you a total of $252. So that's great. We paid a guy to work 8 days. I'm sorry, 3 days for 8 hours. And all it cost me was $252.
And then I put a note, put hire temps,
Good.
and I put one person for 3 days / 8 hours at 10.50 an hour. I put check number 1520.
All right,
Which
so
we have to go check registry to get that number. I'm sorry.
no worries. 8 hours.
At 10.50 hour. Now we would go to the check registry to get that number.
Right. Check register.
6/21, check number 1520 for 252.
Oops.
Pay hire temps. Now we need to go to the general ledger.
All right, hold on. Go back to the journal real quick.
Okay.
What? Yep, ledger's correct.
Now I went first under expenses to temporary labor expense.
Okay, so it is under labor expense. So up here. Okay, so we have insurance expense. Here it is subcontractor. There it is temporary labor expense.
And just for my notes, I put 6/21 hire temps and the check number 1520. Post reference GJ9 for a debit of 252. So far, that's your normal balance.
Good. Awesome.
Then when we're finished there, we'll go to checking. Under assets.
Oops. Whoa, whoops. What am I doing? Here you go.
Check number 1520, GJ9, a credit of 252, which will give you a running balance of 2058.53.
Good. Excellent.
Once everyone's caught up, we can go to subsidiary ledger.
Okay. Subsidiary ledger.
Hire temps will be under vendors.
There we have it.
Do we just put payment because we don't have an invoice, we don't have a discount, or it's not prepaid?
And the notes, where are you looking at? Oh yes, yes. No, well you do have an invoice amount, which is the 252, right?
You'll have post reference GJ9.
So I'm
No,
gonna go.
because it doesn't give us an invoice. All you have is, you paid higher
Well,
temps.
right. But in this case, even though there isn't an invoice number, you're still gonna be billed, right? Whatever you agree to, it's on the contract, obviously. So whatever you agree to is going to be on the contract terms. Now, of course, you can have that person for longer than 3 days and 8 hours, right? You can have them work 5 days instead of three, like I say, extension, right? But in this case, you're bounded by a contract. So that's the hourly rate. The rate is you're gonna pay them $10.50 an hour, right? You can have them as long as you want, as long as you pay them on the 21st. That's what the agreement is. So if I needed this worker for 3 days, if I needed them for 10 days, it doesn't. It at this point, the invoice amount is going to be subject to whatever the agreement contract term is. So here I've made a note here that I'm just gonna hire one person for 3 days, 8 hours at $10.50. So already my contract should have been stated that I should be making a payment for $252. Right, and here general journal number 9, right? Even though there is no invoice number, you still have a contract number to that. It's just we don't list it because we only hire this temporary worker one time. So
I put the date due 6/21.
yep, 6/21.
Invoice amount 252. I put a payment of 252. And my formula in the end will be equals invoice amount minus prepaid minus returns and allowances minus discount minus payment, and it should show a zero balance.
Excuse me. All right. Perfect. All right. Anything else that you think we should add or anything?
No,
Good.
and we won't go like to the employees because this didn't concern one of our employees. It just was through the hire temps agency.
Correct. Good.
So with this transaction, I will call it complete.
Good. Right? Because we went from journal to ledger to subsidiary ledger. No effect with inventory. So we are complete with this transaction. Right? So then what else happened?
We returned 4 cracked ceramic coffee cups to the vendor for full credit.
Yes. So we opened up our box, our last shipment, which was on the 20th, right? We found that 4 of those mugs are broken. So we're complaining to the vendor, hey, your guys, they shipped us cracked mugs, so give me full credit. So how are we going to figure this out?
Okay, now this is where I did some research because I wasn't sure because everything I looked for I couldn't find as far as credit. We have always done some type of return. So I'm going to take a shot here and say my 2 accounts I'm going to use as accounts payable and purchase returns and allowances.
Good. So here, accounts payable. And purchase returns and allowances. So do we have it a purchase returns and allowances account?
Yes, it is 61,500
Okay. Now tell me, why would we use a purchase returns and allowances account?
because we're returning a purchase that we made.
Okay. More specifically, why do we need to use this account right here? What kind of account is purchase returns and
It's
allowances?
a contra account to purchase expense.
Correct, because we have the coffee mugs as periodic inventory. It's right now considered an expense. So we must use a contra account in order to decrease the purchase expense. So good. All right. So what was that account number again? Sorry, I blanked out.
The purchase returns and allowances was 61,500 and accounts payable was 20,000.
All right, so 20 and 61,500. Okay.
And what I did was I took the cost of the 4 ceramic coffee mugs times 4 and got a total of 984.
Okay, where did you get the cost per item?
I went to the I went to my very last purchase at All Things Ceramic, invoice 159.
Okay. Where else can you find that information?
You can also find it in your inventory worksheet.
Yes, you can. So, in this case, before I go there, let's go to the inventory worksheet. Okay. We are currently on June 21st. Can we return cups that we had made purchase on the 10th of June?
No, because we were already opened them and looked.
Exactly. So in this case, right here, we're looking at the most recent purchase, which is right here for June 20th. How much is each cup worth?
$246 each.
Good. Can we
So
return freight?
No.
No. So we're looking at $246. Now, let's look at our inventory worksheet. Is there a place where I could put my returns and allowances?
Yes.
Yes. Right here. How many items are we returning?
4 quantities, 4 at a cost of $246 each.
Good. $246 each. And therefore, what should be my total amount of refund?
$984.
$9.84. Okay. So here's a perfect example of how we would use a returns and allowances right here on a periodic inventory. Okay. So here we have 4 cracked mugs. We're looking at the cost per item of the most recent batch. All right. And here we solve that it is for $9.84. So therefore, you could go back to your inventory, or sorry, you could go back to your journal and enter this number in. Okay. For this one, have we made any payments to All Things Ceramics?
No.
No. So therefore, you're gonna get you're gonna reduce the amount that you owe, especially because this goes towards which invoice? The second one, right? So there you go, $9.84. Okay. And what's your note here?
I put all things ceramic. I put the invoice number 159, and then I put return 4 broken mugs for refund. Well, for credit, I have actually.
Anyways, is it broken or cracked? Oh, it doesn't matter. They're broken. Good. Okay. So what do we do now?
Now we have to go to the general ledger.
Okay.
We want to go to accounts payable.
Accounts payable, liabilities, okay.
For the note, I just put the invoice number.
Okay. I put a letter C because this is a credit. Okay.
Where are you at on there?
I'm on accounts payable. Ledger. General ledger.
Oh, I was looking at subsidiary.
Okay.
And debit for 984. It should give you a balance of 12,879.61.
12,879.61.
From there, we'll go to our expenses, down to the purchase returns and allowances.
Expenses. Purchase returns and allowances. Perfect. Got it.
I put date 6/21. I put all things ceramic and the invoice number.
Okay. I'm just going to put invoice number. And I'm going to make a note for
That would be a credit for 984.
Credit or debit? Alan, credit or debit?
I said credit.
Good. Making sure you're aware.
Oh yeah, no, I got this.
Okay, good. It's a contra account to purchase expense. If a purchase expense is a debit, therefore it flows in the opposite direction. So in this case, it is a credit to the account. Good. Okay. So what's next?
The vendor.
Yep.
Yes.
My note, I put return 4 broke mugs at 246 each.
Come on, at symbol. 246 each. Okay. Once again, 159C for credit. Okay. Are we still in General Journal 9?
Yes.
All right, here we have it. And where do we put this information at?
I put it under returns and allowances.
Yes, so let me see. Here we are for 984. So what's going to happen here is if you extended this formula out, right, it's going to appear as a negative number and it's going to calculate your ending total. However, one column I don't have is what happens when you return an item and it goes against your invoice. Therefore, if you want to, you can put it on the side that for this invoice right here, number 159, it's no longer 296 anymore. It is now this, plus your negative 948, 984 to give you a total of 286.96. What? Yeah, 286.96. Okay, so here you can create that special column, but usually for this kind of transaction, right, most of the transactions doesn't need to have that new invoice balance. Okay, so this one you're gonna have to put on the side of your notes here, just so that you know when you do end up paying for it, right? Because we see here we have up until the end of June, or we could pay it at the end of July or the mid-July, right? So here, making sure that you know that invoice 159 is no longer 296 anymore. It is now 286. Okay? Now, once again, if you choose to use this as a one-liner, okay, then then it's going to reflect differently, right? You're gonna put this on top of there, and you're just gonna edit the information. But once again, if you do that, you're not really giving room for this actual transaction to happen. It's kind of meshed into one. So as for future references, if it makes more sense for you to just pile up into one, you can do so. But for this class, I want you to practice so you can see every transaction that happens. Okay. All right. What's next? Is that it for this transaction?
Yes.
Okay. Good. All right. So then, what happened next?
Lynn, can you scoop the journal up just a little bit?
Up here?
Yep, perfect. I just want to double check my numbers.
Okay.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay. Anybody want to take the next one?
Oh yeah, Albert wasn't driving safe and he broke a couple mugs.
Okay.
Yeah. So this one, I know I'm looking for it on my chart of accounts right now.
Good.
Um, so I know we're gonna be taking the return. So um,
Now, who is Katie to us?
oh, she's our customer.
Good.
So she is accounts receivable.
Good.
Okay. I don't want to say is it purchase, returns, and allowances?
Okay, so purchase returns and allowances is when we're dealing with a vendor.
Okay.
Because if
Sales
we,
returns,
yes,
What is it?
sales returns and allowances and accounts receivable.
good. Because in this case, right, when we deal with Katie, Katie's a customer. What do we do to her? We give her sales. Okay? So in this case, she's coming in and asking for a refund because she received broken items. So in this case, she's demanding a sales returns and allowance. In this case, this is a full sales returns because she wants the full refund. Okay? So in this case, we are going to be looking at sales returns and allowances.
I still cannot find that in the charts.
It's under sales.
45,000.
Oh, right under sales of Supreme, large Supreme coffee. I missed that.
No worries. So what was that? What was the account number again? 40,
4,500.
4,500.
45,000.
Good. Okay. And because here's the notion here. She doesn't want the money back. She wants us to apply it to our invoice. So in this case, accounts receivable is correct. Because she doesn't want a check back. She wants us to apply it to her invoice that she has right now. Okay, so accounts receivable. What account number is that? I think it's 11,000, right?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now, in this case, how much do I know about this particular sales? How much do I know to refund?
Go back to her invoice and see what we charged her per mug, and then you times the 2 mugs times that amount.
Good. Or you could take a look at what our selling prices are, right? If you go scroll all the way up for the scenario, we have our price points, right? This is considered a wholesale because we sold by the pound. So in this case, how much did it cost for per mug?
$4.99 times 2.
Yes. Okay. You go all the way up to the sales. So I'll go ahead and do that right now so you guys can see where I'm getting this number at. If you go all the way up to the very beginning of the scenario, here I have my set price points right here. As a wholesaler, we sell our coffee mugs for $4.99 a cup. Okay, here, $4.99 a cup. Right? So, of course, looking at Katie, right, we sold to her as a wholesaler. So, once again, it's going to be that $4.99 per cup. So, in this case, we're going to refund to her for a full refund. She doesn't want a partial of it, and she wants us to apply it to her invoice number 101. So, in this case, we're giving back $9.98 because that's exactly what $4.99 times 2 is. $9.98. Okay. What's going to be my little description here?
I put Katie's Coffee Corner, invoice 101. See? Return 2 broke mugs for credit.
Okay. Good. So what's next?
In our ledger?
We're going to do our ledger first. Or next. So here we are. Okay, so right above sales discount, we have sales returns and allowances. Okay.
The notes, I just put invoice 101C.
Right, because we're giving her credit. Good.
And I just put return 2 broken mugs.
Post reference.
GJ9 and debit for $9.98.
And once again, this is another contra account to sales. So it needs to be on the debit side.
Then you'll go over to accounts receivable. Oh, invoice 101C, GJ9, and a credit for $9.98.
Good. So then what's my running balance?
163.41.
Okay, so this is the total amount of accounts receivable, okay? Not this invoice particular. This is the total amount. Okay, so that means you have outstanding customers owing you a total of 163.41. Okay?
Do we deduct this from our sales guys' profits?
No. Okay, that's a good question because I was going to come upon that when we get into the customers section of the subsidiary ledger. No, because in this case, our virtual agreement is whatever sales that he collects, he collects. It doesn't matter if there's a return, it doesn't matter if there's a discount. Whatever he's earned, he's earned. Because I mean, would you feel right to take away 99 cents or a dollar even, because 10% of $9 is 9 cents, 10 cents?
We're not corporate, yes, but if they don't pay, he ain't getting paid either. So
Okay.
it's one of, yeah. I used to work for a sales company, and I know our sales guys would say, hey, this customer went belly up, and they had to return their compensation.
Okay, well, in this case, we're nice. We're gonna allow Albert to collect every single penny, no matter what the customer does. Okay, every penny he earns, he earns. Okay. So in this case, yes, we're gonna go to our subsidiary ledger because we now have to update Katie's information, right? We already established that for Albert, he's keeping whatever he keeps, all the pennies he keeps, no matter what happened to that invoice. Okay, so in this case, we're not going to update him, but we will update Katie. All right, here's Katie. Notes.
I just put the return the 2 broke mugs for credit because we already have the place for the invoice and post reference.
Good. 2 broken mugs. Full refund. Right? 101C because it's a credit and we're applying it to the invoice number 101. All right?
you'll put that amount in the sales returns and allowances.
Once again, if you've applied the formula all the way down, you should see a negative amount here. So here, Katie owes me $99.54. So here we could see, because at the end of the total, she's only got one invoice with us. Okay? Now you can put it on the side of the column here, just so that in case Katie ends up getting another invoice from us, then at least we are able to know that she owes us only $99.54. Okay. So that's what happens when we have a sales returns and allowances. Okay. All right. Question to you guys now. Does that affect our inventory worksheet?
Yes,
Why?
because, oh, wait a minute, hold it. No,
She got to keep them, so I say no.
Well, they're broken. So does those coffee mugs do any good for us either?
oh, no, so wouldn't you put it under returns, allowance, and discounts?
For what?
Okay.
In this
You
case,
had me wondering because I did it, and I was wondering.
okay. All right. So let's take a look at this one more time. Okay. So here, Katie returned 2 broken coffee mugs to us. All right. In this case, when we look at our periodic inventory, do we care about sales?
No.
Now, even if we had that notion where the coffee cups were still good, that's something that we have to keep in mind. But for here, is there a place that we could put this in here?
Yes, under return allowances and discounts.
All right, so yes and no. Okay, so so if you guys remember, this worksheet is strictly only for purchases of inventory. Okay, so any purchase returns, any purchase allowances, or any purchase discounts only applies to the vendor and the vendor only. But however, even though we did technically sell the items, right? So we would make a note of it if it does go back into inventory. But for this case, they're broken. Is that inventory even good to us?
No.
No, we can't even sell it back out. So in this case, it does not affect inventory whatsoever. Even if she attempted to return the items, they're broken. They're no good to us. So we're better off just scrapping it off as it's been sold and it's been sold. Okay? As it never goes back into inventory because it's no good to us either. So in this case, you do not need to update your inventory. For one reason, because it's a part of sales. But second of all, is because the items are broken. So in this case, no, you do not need to involve inventory whatsoever for this actual return. Okay. All right. So that means whoever goes out to the inventory, whoever goes out and takes a physical count, if Katie actually really came to the store and returned it to us broken, then what can we do with it? We just have to throw it away. Okay. Now, in most cases, she probably called us and said, "Hey, I want a refund because there's 2 broken mugs in here." okay, then keep it because it's not good to for you to return it to us either way because they're broken. You could just discard it into the trash can yourself, and we'll give you the credit. So in that case, right? Uh, Even if someone went down to the physical into the physical basement and took a physical count, they wouldn't see that cup at all. Because why would you keep a broken mug in your inventory, right? Why would you keep it down in the basement? You might as well just throw it away. So at this point, if someone were to go ahead and count them, they're only going to see whatever's still good and still solid. So you could think of it that way as well. So, nope, nothing that we have to do to inventory. So, we are done and complete with this transaction. Okay. So, let's see. I guess we can squeeze the next one in here. So, what else happened next?
Same scenario, but this time with the corner bookstores.
Yes. Except, what is the corner bookstore gonna do this time? So, here, the corner bookstore wants to return 4 cracked mugs. But what happened here?
Oh, someone was like manipulating enough and said, "Hey, we'll give you credit. Maybe you did it, not us." And they're like, "Sure, we'll take 50%, not the whole amount."
Okay. All right. But what does he want? So, okay, so we are going to be crediting him or refunding him at least 50%. So, and he wants to apply it to the invoice number 102. So, how are we going to credit the corner bookstore?
Sales return allowances and accounts receivable again.
Yes, so in this case, it's not a full return, but it is going to be an allowance because he's attempting to return something, but we're going to give him an allowance or a credit. So again, it's the same thing as this one right here, except the description's gonna look different, right? So once again, since we already figured the amount out from the previous one, right? We know that each cup that we sold was for $4.99. How much is it if he's trying to return 4 of them, but we give him a 50% discount?
$9.98.
It's going to be the same price, yes, because if you do take it, right, you take the $4.99, you multiply it by 4, and then you divide the whole thing by 2 or by 50%, whatever, you're going to get the same exact number. So, yes, it is for the $9.98. Okay. And once again, now the description's going to reflect a little differently, right? So let's work on the description together. All right. So this is the corner bookstore. Okay. Excuse me.
Invoice 102C.
Invoice 102C, right? Because we're gonna give them a credit and apply it to invoice number 102. So invoice number 102C.
Then put accepts 50% discount.
Good. Return for mugs for 50% discount. Awesome.
Should we just say on mugs after the 50%? Just because if I were to read that and I say return, invoice, return 4 mugs for 50% discount. I'm like on the whole invoice or just the mugs?
Whatever makes it for you to understand.
Okay, but you understand if someone else was looking
Oh yeah,
on the
yes, I
computer.
get it. I got it.
Okay, okay.
So now, don't we go to our general ledger?
Okay, let's go to our general ledger. Okay, so here we're looking at the same exact spot. So if you're on Excel, you should be able to just go to that page and you'll be exactly where you need to be. So, which one do you want to do first, the sales returns or on accounts receivable?
You're already accounts receivable.
Okay. So here we're already on accounts receivable. So let's go ahead and plug those numbers in. So it's the 21st, right?
Invoice 102C, GJ9, credit of 998, which will give you a running balance of 153.43.
153.43. Good.
Once everyone's caught up, we'll go to revenues to sales returns and allowances.
Okay.
Oh, hang on just 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. So sales returns and allowances. All right. 641.
Invoice 102C, return 4 broke mugs at 50% discount. GJ9, debit of 998. Then if you move over and do your formula, it should be equals above plus debits minus credits. It should give you a balance of 1996.
1996. Okay.
Now we go to subsidiary ledger.
Yes, we do.
For notes, could you just put return 4 broken mugs, 50% discount?
Correct. That's good. I meant good. Return for broken mugs for 50% discount. Okay. Invoice number 102C.
General Journal 9.
Oops. Oops. 9. Good.
Sales return and allowance 998.
Good. And once again, if you applied this formula going all the way down, right? It says that he owes us now 53 89. Okay. And once again, this is a very similar scenario to Katie, right? If the corner bookstore is asking for a refund for 4 broken mugs, but it's willing to accept a 50% discount, right? Therefore, they're keeping it, right? But in this case, even if they did return it to us, we'd still acknowledge it as it was sold because they're broken. We can't do anything about it either. So in this case, same scenario here. It doesn't affect inventory whatsoever because there's no use for them. They're broken. They're going to be discarded. Okay. And once again, even if you do think of it this way, right? We can't accept it and return it to the vendor because it was in good condition when we sold it. It was our mistake because we broke it. So in that case, you can't really request a refund from your vendor if it was your fault that broke it. Okay. So, all right. So what I'm going to do here is, since this is the very last thing that we're going to have in the journal, I'm going to stop here because the next couple sections, well, we have time for them, but I'm telling you right now, my allergies are not very good. So I want to stop today. And we'll just pick up from tomorrow, pick up tomorrow. Okay?